Mediation as a life-saving experience, a conversation with mediator Traci Ahart. That is our topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and podcast by instantmediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent. Hi, everyone. This is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, arbitrator, and mediator, working online or remote through Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Ołowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland. And today with us, our special guest, Traci Ahart, who is a mediator, well known and absolutely successful in all Texas, and a former attorney dealing mainly with family law cases. And Traci, it's a pleasure and honor to have you for many reasons, partly explained in the title of our episode, but that will come up shortly afterward. But please tell us a few words about yourself.
Well, my name is Traci, and thank you both again for having me on today. I am a mom, first and foremost, to a 23-year-old young man who's currently stationed in the Coast Guard in Miami, Florida. I spent 15 years as a single parent, also went through 2 divorces myself during that same time. And from that, have managed to build a pretty successful mediation, family law, child support, child custody mediation business throughout the state of Texas that I primarily at this point now do virtually. And I get the privilege of telling everybody that I love my job and actually mean it.
Awesome. Yeah, Natalia, please, you were the one who helped coordinate Traci to be here today. And we really appreciate it. I've known Traci personally for years, and you've been a mediator for me, a mentor in a way. And so I really appreciate you. And I remember right at the beginning of the pandemic, Traci, you were on Instant Mediations on Facebook, really blasting Instant Mediations, well, blasting in a positive way,
Right.
sharing Instant Mediations with the public and letting people know about us because we were helping mediators get online and during the pandemic. So we've appreciated you all along the way. I know we did another video with you and we saw your cats. So we've had a lot of fun, with you. But Natalia helped coordinate you to come on now because you've gone through some major life experiences that brings now a lot of encouragement to a lot of people. So just wanted to have you speak a little more about it.
Sure. These past 2 years have been quite an adventure for a lot of people. Just as some life was starting to get back to normal, and in the spring of last year, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a form of blood cancer, and was a little bit in shock at first, but ended up going through. Well, gosh, I'm now at about a year post in remediation, rather, and went through a good 6 months of chemotherapy and other treatment, surgeries, chemotherapy, and other treatment for the lymphoma, while still trying to run my business, which presented some unique challenges, but also a lot of good life lessons, if I'm totally honest.
And I think that Traci has been an inspiration for many women. I think many people, not just dealing with cancer, but I think that what has been achieved by her is pretty well shown in the video she presented, and she still has on her Facebook page, and I believe on Instagram as well. And Mark, if you please could share it with us, it's a 3-minute thing, but I believe that it is worthwhile that everybody sees it. She is a glamorous woman, a mediator and a woman and a mother, and someone who did it.
Yes. So if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, please make sure you check out the YouTube version of this video so that you can watch it. All right, here we go.
Strength, courage, resilience, badass. My name is Traci Ahart. I'm 49 years old and 5 feet 10 inches tall. Life before cancer was in the best shape of my adult life. I was running a full-time divorce and family law mediation business, and I also was in the process of developing a lifestyle and travel blog for women. I have a son who is 23 years old. He is currently stationed with the U.S. Coast Guard in the Special Operations Team in Miami, Florida. I have a tattoo that says hashtag life with the boy, commemorates the many years and the many adventures that he and I had together. In my heart, I still call him the boy. However, I like to refer to him as the man formerly known as the boy. The day I was diagnosed with cancer, I remember the doctor walking in and he looked at me and he said, "We've got some lymphoma to talk about." And I looked at him and I said, "What the hell are you talking about? I have to be at work in 30 minutes." It was surreal. In that very moment, my mindset was shock, and my immediate response was, "This is something that happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me." One of the first things the doctor told me when he explained that my treatment program would include a very brutal chemotherapy regimen was that I would lose my hair. And I knew that I was going to have to go shave my head. And I wanted to own that and be the one to shave it as opposed to cancer taking that from me and it falling out. It all seemed so overwhelming to me. So my approach when I was going through chemo was to get up, dress up, show up. I had 6 rounds of it, and each round had a theme. And I would dress up with my favorite pair of heels, shoes, particularly high heels or something that makes me feel cute and feminine and confident, have represented some of the lowest times of my life that enabled me to feel that strength and get through it with a level of confidence. My last chemo treatment, the theme was Warrior Princess. I showed up in a hot pink full-length ball gown, sparkly high heels, a tiara, and a sash that said Warrior Princess 2022 in hot pink and white. I can tell you what beauty used to mean to me. Beauty used to mean the long, beautiful hair, the perfect makeup, completely put together at all times. I think beauty for me today is what comes from within. In this new chapter, I know that I'm going to be here to enjoy my son and the babies he has one day, and knowing that I have a part of that and I'm going to be there to watch it, that's what I'm looking forward to. My next project is to continue picking up where I left off on the women's lifestyle and travel blog. It's what makes me happy. Getting the content's the most fun part of it. Moving forward, I've decided to approach life as never say no to any opportunity. Always say yes. You never know what opportunity is going to be around the corner. And now it's time for the next chapter.
Thank you for that, Tracy. I think that it is very uplifting, first of all, but I think that you need to explain some of that to us. This sort of experience that you've been going through, you combined with mediation. I think that many mediator, but also many people that you mediated for, and again, back to the titles we have, mediation as a life-saving experience. Tell us what it meant to you that you could go and mediate.
Absolutely. It was very important to me when I was first diagnosed. It was a shock. I didn't really have any history of cancer, certainly in my family, no history of that sort medically for myself. So it's very important for me to keep doing what I've been doing and to be as normal as possible. So I didn't really tell anyone in the beginning. I had a very, very small circle of friends who knew that I was going to have to go shave my head, who helped me get my wig that looked just like my old hair. And so I didn't go public with it until I was about halfway through treatment. It was so crucial to me because I also didn't want people to think, well, Tracy's sick, she's not going to be able to work. So when I did go public about halfway through, I made it very clear to everybody that it was, everybody was like, how can I support you? Business as usual. Attorneys keep booking me. I'm still working. I did work an abbreviated schedule because I would schedule specifically for my treatments. I'd have a few days off in order to recover from that. And then the next week, when I knew my blood counts would be low, I would go ahead and take an extra, a long weekend in order to let my body do what it needed to do. But I will tell you, at that point, it was the only thing normal in my life. When I would turn on that Zoom camera and I would start meeting, and I would go in and I would see someone who was obviously in distress because of their own, their own personal, their custody situation or their divorce or feeling at their worst. It was wonderful for me to be able to get out of my own head and stop worrying about myself and really kick in and start focusing on what I was good at. And that's helping other people solve their problems. And so I tell people it was my lifesaver and my sanity. I had my best mediation year ever that that year of treatment last year. I did 315 mediations and took off. That was with 92 days off between treatments and surgeries and things like that. So yeah,
Awesome.
it did save me. It did save me.
Awesome.
Sometimes getting out of our own head and helping others makes a big difference.
No, absolutely. It's all about being positive, because that will also have a positive impact on your body. And we don't completely understand how that works with our bodies, but I'm definitely a firm believer in it. So God bless you with a long life so that you can continue living on. And I know that was scary. I've never been through anything like that, and I hope I never do. But thank you for being an encouragement and a role model for how you go through something like that with grace. So, and I know we'll be having another talk with you and Fran Brockstein. And Fran, I think, went something that was very hard in her own life as well years back. So you
She did.
guys have a lot, that you guys can share. So for the encouragement part that you give to women and to us men as well, we thank you for that. Now, what about how has your experience contributed to you being empathetic with your mediation clients?
Whew. I always felt like my joke when I go into mediation with people is, my man picker's broken. I've been through two divorces myself. I can't tell you how to have a good relationship, but I can certainly tell you what not to do because I'm the queen of it. And I think it's important in mediation to try to be real and authentic with people. I use a lot of self-deprecating humor in that regard. There aren't many mistakes other people can make that I haven't made or come close to in my lifetime. So I think this just stepped it up a level. It gave me another level at which to be empathetic with people. I don't hesitate in mediation when it's appropriate. I don't walk into every single one, but I don't hesitate to share not only my cancer story, but I've been very vocal over the years and spoke to many groups about my previous struggle with severe clinical depression and what that was like and the person it turned me into. And so it helps a lot, I think, in mediation for parties to be able to have somebody identify with them. They see me walk in and they see me, of course, not virtually, but in my high heels or my dress, or they think I'm confident and have all my act together. None of us have our act together 100% of the time by any stretch of the imagination. And so for me, and there's a mediator on every corner, particularly here in Texas, right? You could throw a rock and hit one. And I'm sure there's mediators that know the law better than me. But one thing I think sets me apart is that level of empathy and that ability to meet someone where they are, to meet that party where they are, and a lot of times to pivot and adjust myself. I'm a fast talker, I'm upbeat, I'm quick, but to pick up on somebody that's a little more laid back, a little more timid, a little more shy, and sort of dial it back and meet them where they are. And I think that's been the key. And I believe cancer has only honed my ability to do that even more, honestly.
And there is a little symbol of your struggle. And I wanted you to have it with you and show us and explain what it is.
I
You said
do.
that it is like a little heart.
Uh-huh.
And for those who are watching, that will be seen shortly. For those who are listening, Tracy, please explain what it is and what it means to you.
I will. When I was diagnosed, they explained to me that the particular chemotherapy regimen that I would be getting was very brutal, is the way the doctor described it, which certainly doesn't make you feel better as a patient, right? And that there were, because they're like, well, we're going to need to put a port in to your chest, and I was like, I'm not so sure about that. I was dreading it. Of course, anytime we start reading online, we know that that's the worst place to get your information. I heard all these horror stories, all these terrible things, and I dreaded it. And I dreaded the surgery to get it, but I ended up getting a chemotherapy port. Um, it has been right here in my chest for almost 18 months now until yesterday. I finally had the surgery to have it removed. And even in my anesthesia induced fog yesterday, I asked to keep it. And so they brought it home. And I think you can see it here. and it actually looks like a little purple heart. And it's tiny. It's literally about the size of the pad of my thumb. Yet it was so impactful to me when they handed it to me to realize that something so small could have such a huge impact. The life-saving drugs that they put through this tiny thing in my chest, where they were so lethal to humans, like outside of treating cancer, that the nurse had to put on full hazmat gear to give me the last infusion through here. And when I think about how this little thing makes such a big impact, and I think Natalia, you had commented that I made a Facebook post on it yesterday, but it was very, um, it just struck me. It struck me, and so I wanted to keep it. And I don't know if I'll keep it forever. I don't know if there'll be a day when I need to throw it away. But what I did know is that I needed to be the person to throw it away or to keep it or to make that decision. I just didn't want it discarded in the emergency in the operating room, just like anything else. So yeah, it was a pretty big deal to get rid of this because it's been a lifesaver. I was admitted with neutropenic fever to the hospital in the emergency room last 4th of July, and but for that, they were able to access what they needed to get into me very quickly, and it's a lifesaver. I believe that wholeheartedly. So
So, Tracy, with a few minutes left, what
sure,
about the future? And what are your projects and what are you working on? I'm sharing your Facebook, and that's
yeah,
facebook.com/Tracy.L.Ahart. And I was gonna point out, so I do see your pin post that we just watched
right,
the video,
right.
and then this is what you were referring to.
That was the post I just made about my experience yesterday, the surgery and the port.
Yes. And then there's some work that you have been doing with others. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the projects you're working on with Hell on Heels?
I would love to. Hell on Heels is a group of female attorneys throughout the state of Texas that we're about to expand out to across the country. Our whole idea is to support and uplift and encourage other women in the profession in an organic way, mentoring different projects. We have an annual continuing education seminar that's very unlike anything you've ever experienced. It's more of a one on one interactive group where everybody in the group is involved. We also do an annual luncheon every year in San Antonio, Texas, where we have a speaker. This year we had Cindy Tisdale, who's the incoming State Bar of Texas president. We've had Eva Guzman, who is obviously a former Texas Supreme Court justice, as well as Justice Deborah Lehrman, who's also spoken. We had the first African American president of the State Bar of Texas speak. So our goal now that my recovery is well on its way is to really expand Hell on Heels out and offer it to a much wider group of women. Our message really resonates with women. It's not an anti-male group. We have a lot of men who actually really support the whole idea of Hell on Heels. I always tell people it's not just about the shoes. That's just the conduit. It's really about the attitude, and it's about being there for one another, because not only this profession, but life in itself is tough. And we need people to help us out. And I have found that my Hell on Heels ladies have done an outstanding job of that. So we're really looking to expand that out. I'm working on a women's lifestyle and travel blog that we hope, and it's in the future, but we hope to eventually develop that into some sort of podcast or show and see where that takes me. Now, obviously, doing that and running a full-time mediation business, I'm averaging about 30 to 35 a month right now. It puts a lot on my plate, and so I've learned balance. I've really learned to have to figure out where my priorities are every day and find a way to get through all that. And as I'm coming out of this into remission and sort of out of the patient mode and back into real life, it's sort of a trial and error to see what works. Lots of naps, but that's okay. It's what we need, right?
Before we close this episode up, I wanted to ask you another thing because this is like a play on words, mediation as a life saving experience. But this is what we mediators believe, that it can be a life saving thing for our clients. Can you tell us something about that? Have you had this experience that your clients were actually almost physically saved going through the process of mediation.
Absolutely. Mediation gives people the dignity to have some input into the outcome of their case. It gives them control. They may not love the result, but they often find they can live with it. One thing I discovered about being a mediator versus being an attorney is that somebody says thank you to me every single day, because they're so relieved when they walk out. Even if it's not exactly what they thought they were going to get coming in, there is a sense of relief. And I always tell people what I love about being a mediator is I get to be part of the solution rather than being part of the problem. And so no question that people walk out of mediation and feel like they had someone to hear them, that they were afforded the dignity to be heard, and the ownership in their own outcome to what the next chapter in their life looks like. And so I'm pretty passionate about what I do because of that.
Awesome. Well, you're a good example at how you do it. So thank you so much
Thanks, Mac.
being an inspiring person for all us mediators. All right, guys. With that, we're closing out. Check out the next episode where we'll be talking more with Traci Ahart. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.